OLUG February 2012. I should have did this before I started recording.
And now somebody's
Meeting. Yeah, that's going to go off all the time. All right.
Speaking of going off all the time,
Silence the phones.
All right, Craig. Hold on, we gotta finish. Damn.
We're waiting on Craig.
I'm ready.
All right. So welcome to the, almost said November, February Omaha Linux Users Group meeting.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm tired.
or forward, one of the two.
Yeah.
Let's go backwards.
Because he was going to say November 2012, so that would have been way forward.
So this month,
Dun, dun, dun.
do this right, like a guitar or something.
Woo-hoo.
Oh, I kind of came prepared.
Woo!
He actually has something.
So, let's talk about a little news.
Maybe.
Raspberry Pi, possibly by the end of the month.
Yep.
They have a date of the 20th, I believe.
Yep. Are they taking pre-orders yet?
That's when the pre-orders will begin, when they actually have them in hand. Because they said they could take the money ahead of time, but they didn't want to. Yeah, I know. I mean, they'll probably limit it, because I was thinking about buying 3.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're only making like, what, 20,000 or something? 10,000? 10,000.
That's the first batch.
Yeah. But I mean, it's like if you can start auctioning off your spot in line, you can make some money.
Yeah. Get some kidneys. Okay. Canonical is to drop support for Kubuntu.
Yep.
One down!
Well, they're not really dropping support. They're dropping
not
financial support.
Financial support for the person that was
Yeah.
their liaison.
They're sort of hoping that.
Yeah, we just gonna drop Unity and GNOME now, then we'll be done.
Did anybody look at the Ubuntu HUD stuff? I had not.
Was that the...
That's their heads-up display technology. That's on top of Unity.
Their menu replacement thing?
Yes.
You're talking about? You know, I'll tell you something. We talked about that on one of the podcasts I'm on, and I thought that was going to be really good for, like...
For cars or
well,
TVs, yeah.
Maybe. Or I was thinking, because it's supposed to be typing-based, it might be good for assisting technologies.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Accessibility.
Accessibility.
Okay.
So then I contacted somebody who has visual problems, and he said it sucks. He's actually going to be on our next podcast to talk about it, because he says it's, from what he's seen so far, it's like one of the worst things he's seen.
Mm.
So accessibility-wise, they're basically screwing up.
Ooh, wow. That's going to be bad. Compiz, out of Fedora 17.
Not a surprise.
No. It's had its day.
Well, and,
It's all built into.
and they're doing such weird and stupid stuff in Fedora 17 anyway.
Yes.
Like changing the file system hierarchy.
Oh, yes. I forgot to put that on there. I should
Oh,
put that on
yeah. And that's actually, for those who
Everything's
don't know...
in user.
Yeah.
No user local, no users.
Well, there will still be like a bin directory, but everything's going to be linked from bin to user bin.
Yes.
Which is going to suck if you actually want to have separate file systems and have recoverability.
Did you ever try Gabo Linux?
No?
It's a very cool Linux distribution that next to no one uses or even knows about. But they repackage everything to like be like trying to be more like Mac with application folders, symlink everything back to user bin and stuff. It's really kind of cool. I think they still got it around. But
It's a cool idea, but it would suck in an enterprise. And that's where I'm going with this, is that they're making changes in Fedora 17 that are going into RHEL 7
yeah, well,
that are going to suck big time. The other one,
If there's still LSB, though, then they may still have to adhere to those standards.
well, but see, they're posting on like Free Desktop and saying, we're changing this and this is what we think it should be. And giving their justifications, which basically half of them are, in my opinion, about half true at best.
It's just not Leonard doing this.
Yes, it is.
I kind of
Leonard and Kay pushing it. The other one that don't know if it'll make it into 17 or not. Did anybody see the thing about they want to change the system logging?
oh yeah.
They want to have a binary system log now. Yeah, they want it encrypted with keys, and they're not going to publish a protocol for it at all.
Nah, that won't fly.
They actually took this to the big kernel conference and didn't get all the way through their presentation. They started an argument with Linus and Alan and just about half the people there, and the whole presentation like fell apart. And yet they're still going to go through with it. They actually have it on their roadmap for Fedora 17.
I guess they don't have enough people participating.
Does that scare you or what?
Well,
you know, the
participate.
The plan is that too many people are using Fedora in the enterprise, so this will fix that. Yeah.
Well, but no, they're going to put the stuff into RHEL. That's the thing. No,
they tend to. Yes.
No. My source inside Red Hat says yes, they will, because you got to realize Leonard actually works for Red Hat.
Yeah.
So he's proposing this stuff pretty much as a Red Hat employee, trying to influence the community version, which I have got a kind of a bit of a issue with that.
I don't disagree with you. Some of his stuff, I mean, Pulse Audio finally came around.
After how many years?
A few years.
5?
System D kind of moved a bit faster than I thought it would, but I still find it a little annoying.
Yeah.
My beef is, all right, here's System D, and it's like, okay, where's the graphic equivalent of changing everything the way it used to be? There is no system config services anymore.
Right.
Or remember the old system config display? No, that's gone too.
Well,
what happened to GDM setup 6 versions ago? It's gone. You can't configure the login screen. Those are the only things that I'm really kind of annoyed about.
Well,
I don't want to have to be a website developer
Yeah.
to change my login screen.
I haven't looked at what they've done with that, but if it's anything like what Sun did with Solaris, the way they changed their startup, God help us.
Okay.
Somebody who knows what I'm talking about and actually agrees.
The OLPC tablet, I did not get to see this at CES. I saw people who had it on video, but not seeing it directly. I kind of like the cover that was also the solar panel, and the Marvell guys were talking about building the power supply for this thing. It wasn't easy because with an AC adapter, it's always going to be 19 volts. You can plan for that, no problem. With a solar panel, you have to judge the curve. And so your power supply has to be smart enough with the algorithms to use whatever it gets to charge and not say, I don't have 19 volts, I'm not going to charge. So it kind of works good, especially with their winding charger, which I don't know if you heard that story. They used to be on the design of the old OLPC, and when Kofi Annan broke it off, then they decided to take that out of the design. So the new model will attach to a table, and you just use the table. So that sounds familiar.
So about Quidditch today.
Did have you heard the support for or the way they're planning to distribute the OLPC tablets?
Not yet.
AirDrop.
Awesome!
They're gonna actually fly out in helicopters and just start dropping these things.
Tablets from the sky.
But then they're gonna like go back like a year later and see if these tribes have actually figured out how to use it.
That wouldn't surprise me.
But I mean, this doesn't it sound like the gods must be crazy or something? You know?
Yes, it does.
So you can have mosquito dance and clean drinking water, or Toshiba Thrive.
I think I'll go with the water. I'm thinking about bringing up the luncheon vote again. Now, I've only seen about 1 or 2 people at luncheons who are here. Does it matter to you guys if it's always going to be geographically dispersed? Because, I mean, your CSF, you guys have that lunch and everybody goes to one place.
That's because we have a hell of a deal there.
I know you have a hell of a deal.
But no,
But I'm saying that...
I think you need to start just doing this so people recognize and see each other when they don't.
Well, true. That's why I try to push, say, wear something when you go.
But, I mean, the problem with locations is it's hard.
Or don't wear anything at all.
Well, that's true.
Sorry,
That's fine.
Yeah, so.
I don't know.
I walked into it.
Something said, I mean, for having a standard location every month is kind of convenient.
Yes.
I mean, we've always wanted to move the CSFs around just to get more people, get different, because I mean, we get different people to debate when we get out. I mean, when we moved it around, we got different people around town. Like, oh, west, we get a totally different crowd, but it's just such a pain. I mean, at least if you have a common location, common time.
Well, that's how the deal with Johnny's works, because they know you're going to be there on all these times, so they can commit to that. If you're in, you can't commit to a specific location.
But we don't do RSVPs and like that for the luncheon thing,
So I guess my thing is going to the Cali Taco. I went like 3 times, and
See, I was there last month.
okay, the one time I went, or I only ran into one person once who ended up having to hit me up for money. So
I had to get a ride from Craig.
The other 2 times I went,
He
nobody
hit
showed
you
up
up for money?
Yeah.
Oh.
And he paid me back, but not a big
That's
deal.
fine.
But my thing is that, so 1 out of 3 times I actually get to see somebody at the place. It's kind of like, that's really bad, because for me, I'm taking money out of my pocket by going out.
Mm-hmm. I know.
So
There's gas and all that stuff too. So.
well, it's not that. It's literally I'm paid by the hour.
Hmm.
So if I'm taking lunchtime, I'm taking money out of my pocket.
So we'll see.
Maybe move it to like quarterly or something, so you make it more event or something.
That might not be a bad idea, actually.
Yeah. Not a bad idea.
Because every month it's just kind of like, I'll hit next month and stuff like that.
Now, something related to this, I had a discussion with the OLUG officiates about doing like maybe a Saturday thing down here. Just, more of a social talk about stuff. It's not really, I mean, we could do lightning talks, but we don't really have to. But I think there's a lot that we don't get because, it's a work night, it's a school night, and say 5 hours on a Saturday, it'd be great. Walk over to the bar, they get stuff too because people are going to want to get something to drink or whatever, maybe have lunch. Dang, my eyes bothering me. So that's kind of, I never move forward with it because it's hard to plan some of that stuff sometimes.
See, for me that would depend on what time frame you're looking at.
Oh, it'd be like 11 to 3 on a Saturday.
Oh, okay.
I'm not like evening or not early morning stuff.
Because evenings I do podcasts, and now every Saturday I'm committed to podcast.
Yeah.
So.
What?
4 to 8 a.m.
4 to 8 a.m.
The thing is,
Well,
I'm usually up
before I go to bed.
at that point.
Well,
So.
these podcasts I do typically record somewhere between 9 o'clock and midnight, sometimes 1 a.m. So.
Wow. So maybe we will do the quarterly luncheon. We'll call that quarterly luncheon vote. So if you have suggestions of places, contact OLUG at olug.org. So for the people who are watching on the video at home. And I'll put a poll together and we'll have something. Be a bit better.
Contact OLUG.
Cool, thank you. We would prefer a local business over a chain, but don't limit yourself if it's good. I mean, I might say, hey, I like Chipotle. I really like Chipotle. Versus, I'm not going to go to McDonald's. What's that?
Mexican gumbo.
And easy access. I wouldn't go to the Chipotle on 72nd.
Or the one, or anything around down here during lunchtime.
Right. Because the parking is terrible and stuff like that. So Midtown works pretty good,
They
yes.
just opened one up on Maple Street on 156th May.
Did they
Really?
just open one?
Because they closed the one at 168
That's what they did.
and
Center?
Yeah.
Oh, they did?
Oh,
I
God,
didn't know
yeah.
that.
We drove up there and they're like pulling crap out. Like, what are you doing?
Wait a
We're
minute.
closed.
It used to be a TGI Friday.
was this a Thursday?
I think so.
Because we drove up on a Thursday and they were pulling stuff out.
Yeah, and what was funny about it was the guy who just opened the gyro place next door was walking around. So as people walked up the door, he's up. You tried the gyro place? Handing out coupons.
Awesome! Now, we have been to the gyro place. It's okay. It was a little spicy for me on the chicken. I mean, they put a lot of the spices on top,
Yeah.
which meant it was a little dry because but it was pretty good. Let's see. Next time, Adam Hayter will be talking.
Wow.
Yes.
He's going to talk about
XBMC.
XBMC. That's right.
Oh, so you got the new one?
That's right.
Sweet.
What's that?
And that too.
No, what was your question?
Oh, it has a new Eden or whatever it is?
Maybe. Maybe by then. I'm not sure what
I think
we'll
it's-
discuss.
Okay.
He did the same thing I did. We both cut cable, and we both have gotten different routes to do things. at
See, I have an
home, so-
XBMC box. I got a beef
Boxy.
with it.
Okay.
You know what? You know.
They got rid of the software, so.
You know what? Boxy.
Boxy Box.
Yeah. You know what? Oh, okay. Just doing the Boxy box.
Boxy the software,
No
then it
more.
became Boxy the Box,
Yeah.
and now Boxy software is not
No
going to
more.
be published anymore.
Yep.
Okay. So,
In fact, they were shutting off the downloads like this
Yes.
week or next week.
so what subjects do you want to hear about? Tom, what would you want to hear about? You already know a lot.
I don't know.
What would you talk about?
What would I talk about? Oh, I got all kinds of stuff. I just gotta have time to get it together. More than a couple of I don't know.
What was that DBD?
DRBD.
DRBD?
Yeah, I can do that.
What's the acronym?
I think it stands for Disaster Recovery.
Disc lock?
Lock device.
Okay.
Something like that. I knew you were gonna ask me that.
That would be of interest to me.
Been doing some stuff with live CD stuff.
Like making your own?
Yeah, like Dev IRF. It's a package under Debian for, you can real quick make a recovery or rescue dongle if you want.
Okay.
Those
Sounds
are kind
cool.
of, you can add any packages you want to it, which is kind of nice. You don't have to
Disaster recovery night.
There you go. We'll come up with a hammer and we'll break your Mac. No, wait.
Do the Mac attack.
That's cool.
I brought,
If I said May, would that be enough time?
yeah, I could probably make it. I brought these for you guys to look at.
YubiKeys.
YubiKey.
Oh.
It's a one-time password dongle.
Whoa.
When you plug it in and
Yeah.
you push the button, it does the password into
It
the
generates a
system.
one-time password.
So, like Fedora can use that as your login on the box.
Yeah, you can set up LDAP.
They're like $25. They're not.
$25 for, and you can customize them too. You can do your own. You don't have to use their servers.
They appear as a USB keyboard, right?
Yeah.
So it just injects the information. They put it in Notepad and just keep going.
Well, that's what the Bergen Mercy, they set shipping out these new mother kits. You plug it into your machine, and it's like one of the guys at Nebraska Service talked about this actually at one of the meetings. He took it and stuck inside his PC. It's like, because he's got an auto run turned off, all this is feeling great. Pops up as a keyboard and mouse, opens up his thing, starts doing all sorts of stuff on it, opening browser windows and stuff for him. It's like, thank you.
Neat.
Yeah, all USB key drives, man. That's the next big gonna screw to the wall kind of thing.
Yeah. Because they're not storage.
Yeah. Oh no, they're devices. And how do you turn it off? Because if you have a desktop PC now, everything's USB. You can go ahead
Can't
and
turn
do
off USB keyboards. Well, you know
Yeah,
what
but
they'll do.
but half of them don't have a
PS2
PS2 port on.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's what the next step will be. Microsoft will say, "Oh, well, we got to protect this, so the keyboards have to be signed." And there's an algorithm in the operating system that authenticates the keyboard, and only authenticated keyboards work, and just like authenticated booting and stuff like that.
Right.
So,
And the Microsoft keyboard is $900.
so I mean, it's going to be really freaking hard to pair your fridge to your network because of all the security that's going to be wrapped around it.
And your fridge not having a keyboard.
Oh, speaking of
Won't boot
which,
at all.
Like this. All right.
did you hear that they somebody broke the file vault encryption on the Mac?
Really?
Yeah. It's a company that has a forensic package. They charge $1,000 for municipalities to use it.
One user license, $1,000.
But it
It also requires FireWire. It requires a couple of things.
It requires either a FireWire port.
Oh, that FireWire vulnerability that they announced a couple years ago.
Or the Thunderbolt, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
Thunderbolt.
think there's a word for that.
Oh, because it's DMA, because it uses the DMA thing.
But you have to be, the machine has to be logged in for it to work. So if you're not logged into the machine, it won't work. Because it goes through your memory to try to find the password.
Right, because it uses the direct memory access.
Right.
And most Mac people put their machines to sleep.
Yeah, but not everybody has it log you out or
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people that don't do
Don't
it.
worry.
I'm like, damn it.
Don't worry, soon you have to give your password away now.
I mean, I got a friend
Yeah,
who,
screw that.
you know, I can't
Good
connect
luck.
to the network. I can't get to the network.
That's like
How long has your Mac been put in sleep and waking up put asleep? Reboot the thing. That's part of the problem.
That's going to be the big one. If that goes the way it looks like it's going for.
Yeah, they're going to require you to unlock your phone so that they can get shit on you. The police, if they stop you, they're going to have to have a warrant. It's like searching your car.
What was that on Slashdot yesterday? They were trying to get into someone's laptop and
Yeah.
they said, I forgot the password.
Well, that's one of the defenses she's looking at right now. EFF's got a whole lot of stuff about that. They actually are requiring her to give out her password, which is why you end up needing one of those rubber hose file systems, which I'm not sure how they're going to deal with those.
Well,
It's
remember
tricky to do that.
Craig's presentation he did with the thin client stuff? Were you here last year? They brought in a Citrix laptop and nothing stored on the laptop.
Mhm.
So
Sunset stuff like that for a long time.
So when you go to your outside the country location, you open it up, you're all in. You close it, there's nothing there. I mean, that ideally would be the best way to do it.
Yeah, well, they're talking about things like you just mail yourself a USB key with your whole machine image on it. Use that there, then mail it back. You also
Mail it, swallow it.
You don't even.
Start muling your personal data.
It doesn't matter if you mail it to yourself and you change it remotely, right? You log into your system at home and you change it. And you just destroy the key. You don't need it. It's a tosser essentially.
See, this is where
Tosser keys.
Yeah, this is where I kind of get into some stuff though, like cloud stuff. Do you trust other companies to keep your data private? Yeah.
Well, the great thing about that is you don't even know when they come and get your data. It's like all these people
Yeah.
using Google Apps, like, oh, the one nice about being a legal company is if you get subpoenaed by somebody, you know you've been subpoenaed by them. But Google, you don't even know if you've been subpoenaed. They can just troll throughout your stuff, so you just keep putting more information there, don't take any additional measures or whatever. And then the barrier is not near as high as it is for
Well,
a subpoena.
Yeah.
So.
Wait for the whole Skype, Facebook total integration. Then think about that. All the voice or video going through there. Oh, we can do facial recognition in the middle of a Skype stream.
That's why everyone's got to start wearing hats.
No. So you know that tinfoil hats, tinfoil masks.
A cardboard cut out of your dog.
Or just have your dog sit in front of their put some peanut butter in his mouth so it's moving up and down.
My face lock only works when I have my dog. What happens when the unthinkable happens?
What happens to the
And
unthinkable?
by the way, what was the point of putting the facial recognition in these? The
It was
Nexus?
cool.
It's not cool. It's stupid.
It was cool to impress the chicks. Hey, baby.
I haven't used it.
Try it sometime. It works if you hold it up to a picture of yourself or somebody else.
I know it.
It really doesn't work. To unlock your phone.
George, what are you talking about tonight? We're doing.
We talked too long.
No, I did actually. I apologize for that.
You didn't put the Infotech plug in yet. You should do
Oh
that.
God, I'm sorry.
Oh.
So, coming up in April,
17th and 18th.
17th and 18th. Did you look it up? Are you sure? All right.
I'm presenting.
I'm trying to count number of years. I don't think we do years. So Infotech.
It's got to be at least close to 17.
Yeah,
Can't leave Windows up there.
that's fine. So our Infotech conference is coming up. AIM is sponsoring it. We also have our technology banquet. Craig is going to speak on a track. What are you speaking on, Craig?
Backups.
Backups.
We don't need no stinking backups.
Back up your stuff.
No soup for you.
It's like the shop
You're the
teacher,
backup
you know?
Nazi.
Don't listen to a shop teacher missing fingers.
You know,
I'm not screwing around!
I'd like someone just 1 year to do restores. I don't care about the backups.
Hey.
Restores is where things get interesting.
No, you know, why test it? It worked. I got a note that said the backup worked. Why do I care?
You know, there's a guy I knew who used to work at a company. Sorry, to derail it. He was cutting ISO images. He was cutting to DVDs, and all the images he was cutting were 5 gigabytes. Then he cut to the ISO, and the CDROA thing gave him no error message. So he had this whole stack of partial DVDs for a company around town. He got fired, and rightfully so.
Well, yeah, but he didn't get fired for buying IBM.
If only the disc would have been a little bit bigger, would have been fine.
Blu-ray.
Yeah, Blu-ray.
So, check out infotech.org for all the details. The mobile site is up, coming together, looking pretty good. So, hey.
Don't do that again. That's all out of respect.
You're going to see our QR code stuff. Did you see that last year? Totally designed our own little QR code solution for doing name tags. And it was, I mean, you put it in front of the webcam, is boom, boom, just like that. It's pretty fast.
I saw a red truck driving down the road the other day with a QR code on the back.
Our vending machine company that does our vending machines, that's the only thing on the truck.
Okay, doesn't that promote driving with your using?
Yeah.
Not a bad thing.
I mean, there's a little thing on the door that says accent vending, but that's it. Pretty soon, you're going to have a phone or something on the dash that's just going to pick that stuff off as you drive. That's all going to be, you know, the augmented reality stuff.
Some guy was walking through the office the other day, walking through second floor where they do the counseling, and we have this big banner with the company logo and our sponsor, the company supporters and such, and there's a QR code on it.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy looks at it and goes, that's already outdated. So what do you mean? QR codes are going to be gone by next year. What are you smoking?
People said that last year and the year before.
What are they going to be replaced with? Did you ask Nostradamus that?
Microsoft codes.
Look,
Microsoft codes.
Obviously,
Apple codes.
Microsoft does have a code system. Theirs is using like 4 colors.
They also supposedly have a phone.
And they're triangles.
They also supposedly have a phone.
Yeah.
The phone is rather nice.
Yeah, but have you heard what the sales figures are on it?
10, 12 units.
Yeah, per year.
That's an exclusive.
But just remember,
It's
it'll be
exclusive
Nokia.
club.
That's what Nokia will be.
Yeah, their big push for that's going to be that Lumina.
Sorry, I gotta pronounce it
Lumia
correctly.
900.
Nokia.
Yeah.
You're not finished.
Okay. It's like Nikon.
Go George!
Hey!
Tiling window managers.
Yes, tiling window managers. Talk about a couple of them called xmonad and Awesome. I thought first I would start though, because I don't know when I put this together. Yes.
License. You're licensed to do this?
License Creative Commons by
Oh.
attribution. Attribution share alike. So we put the presentation out there. You want to
This
use it?
doesn't
Go
have
for
the
it.
logo that says.
Yeah.
So you're just not as pretty. Got it.
Yep. I'm just not as pretty. You know.
Is this Dia?
Huh? No, actually, this was generated using org mode and.
Oh, that's right. This is PDF.
Yep, it's PDF and uses a text backend to actually generate the presentation called Beamer.
I always wanted to own one.
Doesn't xmonad and Awesome sound like an 80s sitcom though?
You know.
That's
All right.
because he described it. It's awesome.
So I thought I'd talk a little bit about, since I don't know what everyone's level here is, talk about a little bit about desktop versus window managers, then get into the actual tiling window managers a little bit. Then we'll talk about each of these and I'll kind of demonstrate each one. And that's pretty much all the presentation, so it's not like there's going to be a whole lot to this. So desktops, I mean, the 4 major ones that most people know, KDE, GNOME, XFCE, then there's CDE and Fox Desktop. Most people don't know Fox Desktop. It's actually,
I don't know Fox.
It's actually based on another toolkit. It's actually not GDK or KDE. They actually have, or Qt. It's actually a completely separate toolkit that's actually designed to be lighter, smaller, and faster. I think that one's really stunted now. I remember seeing that like about 4 years ago, and I don't think I've seen any real progress on it. But it's still listed out there. And most people who have been around for quite a long time know CDE. That's actually I think it's actually commercial, but I think it's an open source port of it. And actually, CDE being commercial is what actually brought about XFCE. Some people call LXDE a desktop. I don't. Really what XFCE is, it started off as a file manager, PCMan FM, that somebody decided to put with OpenBox, a window manager.
Yeah.
And then they started adding, gluing together a whole bunch of other little utilities in that and calling it a desktop. It's
loosely.
It's a piece of trash in my opinion. And I've got long reasons on why. I've actually had it screw up systems.
I've used OpenBox with GNOME too, and that was pretty good. It was a nice memory.
OpenBox is great. OpenBox is great. PCMan FM is a piece of junk. I've had it lose files. I've had it destroy file systems. I've had it trash systems. When I've used it as part of LXDE, I've had LXDE screw up and use deprecated GDK interfaces and leave trash behind after it's removed, and then basically screw up any other GNOME or GDK-based desktop I've tried to use. So I don't have any appreciation for it. Last time I talked to somebody who was actually involved in the project, they said they decided that they needed to rewrite everything from the ground up. That was a year or two ago. So haven't seen that yet.
I liked OpenBox because I used it on my netbook.
I think OpenBox is awesome.
Good.
OpenBox is awesome. You know, I've actually got it on here. I'm on a Crunchbang system, and the primary desktop is based around OpenBox. But just because you put OpenBox with a file manager and some other little utilities that are of varying quality,
sure,
and take other code and fork
not
it.
a desktop make.
Yeah. For those who know ROX is based mostly a file manager, but it's based on an older, the RISC OS operating system. And the guy who's the author of this actually does have a full desktop that goes with it, and it actually just depends on how you run the file manager. You can actually turn it on and say, take over the root window, put up a panel, let me have shortcuts in that for running applications and stuff like that. But this is the funny part. Window management is not included. So you actually have to take OpenBox or some other window manager and run ROX on top of it. So it's kind of a different approach to having a desktop.
Oh, and it's like batteries. You get them separate.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think that's one of the cooler things about Linux in general is you can actually take the Lego approach. Take this block here, take that block there, put these all things together. Window managers. So, just a quick note, if you go to the X Window Manager page, they list over 100 window managers that are out there. Most of them are actually still actively coded. So this is just a quick, small idea to cover a few, is general. So like general ones, some ones been around for a long time, like FVWM and TWM.
Sawfish a long time.
Yeah, do you know?
It's still around?
It is still around. I actually just took it off of here. I had it on.
Wasn't it a different name before? That was like
Sawmill.
Okay.
And they changed the name because apparently there was another software product called Sawmill. And so there was a dispute over copyright or trademark stuff. So they changed it to Sawfish. But do you know the other thing about Sawfish? Do you know where it spent a whole bunch of time for a while? It was actually one of the original window managers for GNOME, back in GNOME 1.
Oh, I remember using it.
Yeah. The thing about GNOME that's kind of always interested me, or bothered me, I guess, maybe, is like every version of GNOME, they go to a window manager that's less featured, and less featured, and less featured, and less featured. It's like, okay. There are some other ones that are interesting, like some of the stuff that when Steve Jobs had Next, they had their own window management desktop. Yeah, so you had AfterStep and Window Maker, and of course Next Step was the thing with AfterStep and Window Maker were derived from the Next Step stuff. This is the one I actually don't know the complete history on, is black box. I remember seeing that way back in the 90s and heard that it was really cool. And then also heard about other window managers that were being derived from it, like Fluxbox, OpenBox, Hackbox, and there were actually a couple others that I think are defunct and gone now. You also have the compositing managers, like Barrel, Cairo, and now possibly disappearing Compiz. And XComp Manager. Most people I don't think know XComp Manager. That's actually, it's not really a window manager. It actually adds on to most 2D managers to supply some of the compositing using X, but with other window managers. So you can use it like with Fluxbox or with OpenBox or Enlightenment or whatever. Well, Enlightenment has its own stuff. Enlightenment's kind of the weirdest case because you can almost consider that to be a desktop.
Yeah, well, it's
almost
all unto it itself.
Yeah, and same with IceWM. IceWM is really close because it actually has a launch panel and a taskbar and all that stuff kind of built into it, but it doesn't have like desktop shortcuts. So it's like close, but not quite. Grouping and tabbed. So here we start getting into some of the more unusual cases. People see like tabbing stuff in Firefox and web browsers and stuff and terminals and that. I think that's the wrong place to do it. I think it should be done in the window manager. That's where I first saw it. ION and PWM were probably the two that actually started this originally. They were kind of experimental window managers that I think came out of MIT. Might have been like a graduate student who started developing them and put his code out there, GPL'd it. No distro ever picked it up, so you pretty much had to go out, you pretty much found it and picked it up and compiled it yourself and ran it. I managed to get one or two versions that were stable enough to use, I think, of ION. But shortly after that, I started seeing like Fluxbox and PEKWM come out, and they had obviously picked up on the ideas that were in ION and started implementing them.
I've used Fluxbox too.
Yeah. Well, Fluxbox is interesting because Fluxbox is basically the idea of, let's take the stuff we find in ION, but we're going to derive from Blackbox. So it was an interesting idea. Early on, I would not have said Fluxbox was all that good. In fact, I can tell you that some versions had some rather annoying bugs and glitches. But it seems to have gotten much, much better over time. I mean, I know they were working hard on it. I would never say anything bad about it because it was obvious that the versions I was playing with were just early versions. For those who aren't familiar with PEKWM, the idea here was to actually make a really small, light window manager, basically about on the same order as ION, but it's pretty much self-contained. It doesn't need any other libraries other than like the xlib library. Everything's done pretty much in pure X. Then last but not least, we get down to like the tiling window managers. ION, this is kind of interesting. I listed ION on both tiling and on the grouping and tab, because apparently what happened was after a while the guy who wrote both ION and PWM originally decided to actually merge them. So he merged them into a newer version of ION. So the current version, I think it's like ION 3, actually has grouping, or tabbing and tiling built into it. So you can run it either way, and you can kind of run it in like a hybrid mode, which is kind of odd. I haven't actually played with that yet.
So by definition, a tiling window manager does. That's your next slide?
I don't know if it's my next slide, but it's close.
So it says tiling windows managers is next. So.
Where does it say tiling windows managers? Well, that's actually the main category.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, it actually probably is. But, okay, so Awesome and xmonad kind of share some commonality because they're pretty much based around Vi or Vim-like command sets. StumpWM and CLF-SWM are actually written in Lisp, and they're very much Emacs-like. So it makes them a little bit different.
Do you remember less step?
Last step? No.
I think there was a less step as well.
A less step.
Yeah.
That would not surprise me. Differences between desktops and window managers. Window managers, pretty much what they do is they create a client area for an application to run in. They add maybe window decorations like title bar, buttons, window border. Very basic functions, for resizing, minimizing, maximizing the closing Z order of the windows on the screen, and manages the windows, the location, the size, and the workspace. And that's pretty much what a window manager is in and of itself. They don't define anything else as being part of a window manager. A lot of window managers today are much more extended, where they add things like managing a root window, which basically allows you to set a desktop background. Add like themes, docks, trays, hotkeys, shortcut keys, handle messages and notifications. Did I not leave up here? I didn't put menus. Menus is something else that actually has been added to a lot of them. Desktops tend to actually build on top of a window manager. They add things like session management, obviously managing the root window, and many other things like task management, shortcut launchers, bookmarks, widgets, menus, tray area, hotkeys, animation, font management. Font management is actually a big one because one of the things with window managers is sometimes your font management can be kind of an issue. Handle notifications and messages and themes. Did I actually list themes twice? I did not. Okay.
Would you say that the panel function is part of the extended or part of the desktop? Well, I don't know. It gets drawn as part.
It's kind of an odd case.
You have to define
Okay,
it.
normally most panels are part of a desktop.
Okay.
However,
there are cases where
there's an exception case, and there's an infamous one. Black box.
Oh.
Black box added a little panel at the bottom of the screen, or sometimes you can place it at the top or whatever, that had your workspace indicator, the time, and in some versions, like in Hackbox, it would actually have whatever tasks were on that current workspace. So that's the one case I know of where there's actually a panel built into a window manager, but it's really an extended window manager. In most cases, no.
Okay.
So for an example, like here, I've got, this is awesome. This is actually running. It doesn't have, it actually has a built-in panel, but that would not normally be considered part of this. Actually, I thought I had OpenBox running, that's why I switched over. Because I was going to say, with the OpenBox config.
It's kind of hard for me to differentiate when you say, this is awesome.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I know it's awesome. Oh, okay, you're talking about awesome. Okay.
Well, I actually meant, I originally thought I was going to start up with OpenBox, because I was going to show some of the things here that actually make a difference, so you can actually see, like, say, when you start with Crunchbang, they put tint, little panel on the bottom of the screen, and that I could actually point to and say, this is actually not part of the window manager. This is something that's actually separate, and I can show you can actually kill it off separately, but unfortunately, since I started in Awesome, that panel is actually part of Awesome. So, tiling window managers, the general principles. Your screen is just divided into client areas. It's literally the whole screen is divided. Windows are managed automatically. As you start a program, the window manager says, here's your window, and it fits it into whatever pattern or whatever divisions it has on the screen. A lot of them you can change, whoops, that's nice. You can change the layout on the fly. So you might have, say, a 2-column layout, and one column may have just one window in it, and the other column may just take over many other windows you have. So if you have 5 windows open, you may have a column that has just one window, and the second column has 4 windows in it. But you can change that and say, maybe make it into a case where you have one window on top and all the your other 4 windows are tiled in the background underneath. A lot of times the client area width can be modified as needed. So if you have if you're looking at one window and it needs to actually have extra space, you can actually go ahead and on the fly to say, give me 10% more space for this one window, and all the other windows will shrink down because it always uses all of the screen. You can generally move the applications between the client areas or the workspaces. So you can actually say, take this application and move it from this space to the previous one or to the next area on the desktop, or you can say move it off to another desktop, pretty standard.
I've seen that with the hotkeys where it's like,
Yeah.
move to this workspace.
Yeah, that's pretty standard with almost any window manager or desktop, whether it's tiling or not tiling or whatever. The more interesting one is when you actually rotate the windows around on the screen itself. So, you might have, instead you might have, like, say, 4 windows, and you might say, take the window in the upper left corner and move down to the bottom right, and it just automatically rotates all of them around.
So many functions that probably don't get used as much.
It gets kind of scary. You'll see. xmonad is really kind of lightweight, but awesome is like, I didn't even list all the functions in awesome. So similarities between awesome and xmonad. Both are designed to be driven from a keyboard. This is one of the nice things about tiling window managers is you don't have to have a mouse. I don't have a mouse running on my machine right now because I don't need it. And I don't even need my touchpad. Command organization is based on Vim. So, yeah, pretty much like your HJKL keys with a modifier.
Like the VT100 and the,
yeah, show up all the time. They're easy ones to use. Both of them, you can extend them without leaving the window manager because they're based on, well, they're not necessarily based on, but they have extension languages built into them. xmonad is written in Haskell completely. It's like 1,200 lines of code. It's like 1,200 lines of code in Haskell, and it's complete. But you can go ahead and modify your config file, and then just say reload, and it just recompiles itself and runs automatically. xmonad, or not xmonad, awesome uses Lua as a language. There's actually a built-in.
I haven't heard of that one. So.
There's actually a built-in Lua prompt where you can actually just type an expression into the Lua interpreter and have it do stuff. I don't know as much about Lua.
What makes it for rapid prototyping?
Or rapid on-the-fly changing. If you know enough Lua and enough of the interfaces, you can just type whatever you want to and say, okay, change the color of this, change that, change this key to something else, or remap that. I don't know enough about Lua. I don't know enough about Lua to actually do that. Both come with standard window layouts that are pretty easy to use. Wow, I'm just really. And both do actually support floating windows. So, one case where I've seen that you don't want to always have your windows tiled onto the screen are things like IM windows.
Yeah.
I mean, why have that taking up a percentage of your overall screen space? Why not just go ahead and let that float and then pull it up when you need to? So that's one that, you can pull that out and let it float, and it can go under your other windows, and when you need to get to it, you just cycle over to it and it'll pop up. Differences. Here's what we're talking about. This awesome uses Lua for its configuration language, which I've looked at. It's kind of a neat language. Actually, the big place that Lua is used? WoW. World of Warcraft.
Really?
A lot of the extensions are written in that. A lot of the extensions for World of Warcraft are written in Lua. And
I guess that would fit if they're trying
one other game manufacturer just announced that they were moving almost all their code base to Lua. I can't remember who it was.
Was it a significant?
I think it was, because Engadget mentioned it as one of the bigger, fairly big company.
Could be the Call of Duty franchise.
Doubt that.
Really?
Yeah. xmonad, written in Haskell, and uses it for its configuration. And in fact, I do have, just as a quick example, so
you can do it.
it's got a whole bunch of extensions on that.
No, it's you can do it.
xmonad.hs. So when I reconfigured this, I actually did a little reconfigure for xmonad on here, primarily because their default key is actually just the Alt key.
So you wanted to be the Windows.
So I wanted it to be the Windows key. But the nice thing about this, again, I just copied this out of their wiki pretty much and just kind of pasted it in there, and I decided I'm going to change the terminal as well by default. So I just go ahead, copy and paste this in here, hit a command in xmonad, and it just picked it up and it was all done automatically.
Xinerama.
Yeah, the Xinerama handling. I didn't put any of the commands in here for this.
Searching I was trying to
you can
look
find
up-
out the article?
Yeah.
The Lewis stuff?
Searching Engadget was blocked.
And I think it was Engadget. It may not have been, because I do use a newsreader, and Engadget seems like my general tech. So, talking about the Xinerama handling, xmonad is kind of odd about this. Awesome actually just goes ahead and treats like each monitor, each head you've got as a separate display, and you can move your windows and that between the displays. Now, here's the thing about that. You know, normally when you're working with a desktop, you can just drag a window wherever you want to. But in a tiling window manager, you actually have to kind of treat each display separately. Why? Well, would you want to tile and have a window that's split across two displays?
Nope.
You really want to try to read, Craig? You really want to try to read across two displays?
Oh, I've done that where I've slapped things across both displays to be able to make it bigger.
To make it bigger, okay. Yeah, I could maybe see that. In this case, you're already using like 100% of your screen, and you can basically set one screen up to be like the whole thing. I don't know if it's spreading across two. This might not be optimal for that.
Not that I'll do this. So.
Yeah. So, what's really cool about Awesome is that instead of just switching between your workspaces, you can now independently control each screen and the workspaces. So I could have my left screen be on workspace 1 and the right screen be on workspace 5. Or I can switch the other one to 3 and 2 or whatever. Which is kind of nice because most window managers...
in that situation, from the standpoint of somebody using it, they still have whatever program they're running over here, but they want to reference some data that's on another workspace to switch the workspace rather than I got to go and move this window over to this place to be able to see. Yeah.
So you can kind of have balance with two things.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice in that, like, when I've been doing like some podcasting stuff, I'll go ahead and set up my windows for building my podcast net on one workspace. And a lot of times I'll need to stay like in an IRC channel or something, so I'll have that on, say, my left monitor, and I'll have my setup for building my podcast on one of the systems on the right side. So I can switch over to that one, or I can come back and get to my web browser or whatever I need to get to. So, in my opinion, Awesome is more straightforward in the multi-head handling. xmonad, when you try to change between workspaces, it will actually change both monitors. And it does them kind of like a staggered order, which I've never completely understood. It's documented on their website, and it doesn't always make sense. Unfortunately, I don't have a way to show it here tonight because, obviously, I don't have multiple heads to work with. By default, xmonad has 3 layouts. It's basically a vertical layout, a horizontal layout, and free-floating. Awesome actually has a free-floating layout, a 2-column layout, I think a 3-column layout, and one large window with tiled windows behind it, and several others that I don't even completely know. I only use like 3 or 4 of them. So the xmonad principles, be very small, very light. Actually, you know what? We're going to skip this one for now because I'm going to switch over to xmonad when we talk about that. Awesome is designed to be very robust. I mean, lots more commands than xmonad. It's supposed to be, it's pretty high usability right out of the box. It has more default layouts. I think I mentioned before it has 6 or 7. Has a status bar, launcher menu, tray area, and tries to be a little more desktop-like. Just to give you an idea, you have, what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 6 commands just for controlling the windows. 1, 2, 3, 4. 7 just for controlling the client areas. Then you've got navigation controls. Yeah, so yeah.
My friend John would love all this. He is a big keyboard guy.
I love it. I mean, get the mouse out of my way. I don't like mice at all. And the other thing is, I've always looked at it as, when I've used other desktops and stuff, I always end up having to push windows around.
Yeah.
It's a waste of my time. Why should I have to push windows around, constantly just to align things up so I can actually find what I want? Or, in some cases I can't. I have to have stuff full screen to actually do something, and then.
I think that's just how some people's brains function. They want to be able to interact.
Yeah.
Versus switch right to it. This is what I want.
It's a workflow thing, is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's how your brain actually organizes your work and how you actually work with things.
I got somebody upstairs that in KDE or in GNOME, he always re-enables the mouse over functionality. So when the mouse is over, that's the active window.
Oh, I do that. I used to do that.
And I go to use his desktop, and it drives me nuts.
Oh,
because you move the mouse up, and the whole thing jumps to the whole workspace comes back down. I'm like, dude, you move the mouse because this is too much for me.
Yeah, I always have that focus follows mouse.
And he
does
the window shade with all of his windows.
I don't do that.
Yeah,
I tried doing that for a while, and that just never really worked out that well for me.
It's so funny because I'll go over and say, "Hey, do this," and he'll be moving his mouse around. He's like, "No, that's not what I want." No, it's like, "No, okay."
So the last thing in the awesome list here, layout modifications. You can actually just gradually adjust how things are set up on your workspace.
It's cleaning people. They're not trying to break in.
You sure?
They have a card.
They need to break in and join us. So you have things like, here as I was talking before, the infamous, so mod shift JK, switch client, next and previous client. So that actually moves one window to the next or the previous one. Well, mod 4 without the shift is basically like an alt tab, move back and forth from the next client to the previous client. Mod 4, I actually left that in. I didn't mean to, because that's actually how you move windows between screens. H and J, or H and L, decrease or increase the master width. That's kind of a thing I didn't really talk about. Most of these window managers look at having one column as a master column and then any other columns as slave columns. The master column is typically where you're most of the time going to be focused when you're doing your work, but it's typically going to be your wider column. And a lot of times you might need to increase or decrease the width by a little bit. So, and you can basically add or remove windows from the master.
So would you say the master window is the active?
So I was going to do a demo sooner or later, so we'll start doing the demo. All right, so I've got a and Alt R.
X gears?
Is Vim missing?
Like the back of every Linux distribution in the late 90s. Look, it has X gears. That's 3D, right?
There you go.
Yay!
So, right now, where GLX gears is running, this is considered to be the master column. That's why it's got more space allocated to it. This is kind of the slave column.
Oh, okay, I see how
Okay.
you're going to switch, because the other ones will be...
So now if we say, like, mod 4 shift J and K, you actually switch previous to the next,
Okay.
like this. So you can move your windows really quick and easily. Notice
Well,
your
running the GL stuff also is good, because you're actually manipulating a graphic data.
Mm-hmm. So, and the thing to notice about this, main principle of these tiling window managers is all of your desk space is used.
You don't have a little bit of cruft on the side.
Yeah, I do a little bit on there, but you know what I mean. You're not going to get much more out of it. Yeah, you don't really see it because you can't even see the top of the bar here. That was one of the things that I was going to try to bring that down a little bit. One of the nice things about Awesome is that when you're switching between your layouts, there's actually a little indicator up here.
No, it tells you which.
So like,
oh, I see.
There's the opposite. So now
I've
got the master column over here, and the non-masters there.
On the
Here's a horizontal layout of it. So you got the top, yeah. There it is on the bottom, and then now you can see here because it doesn't quite map up. There's a little bit of space there, maybe about 4 or 5 pixels. And this one's actually a two slave column. So if let's say run another terminal. So now it's trying to map as much as it can, but it's basically put 2 windows into the master and 3 over into the non-master.
That
and again, when
I was a more visual person, and it all snapped as soon as you pulled all this up.
There's a horizontal on the bottom, horizontal master column, 2 in the master, or master row, I guess in this case.
If you're working on a bunch of VMs or a bunch of web servers, that comes in extremely handy. Because have you used CSSH before? Cluster SSH?
I have not, but I've been meaning to because I know
pretty
about
cool.
It. I've actually
you just say CSSH and then all these machines, and then all the windows throw up, and you're issuing one command to all these boxes.
Works great.
That would work very well with it because all the X terms, you don't have control over their sizes, and they always overlap on each other.
This is the hypnotic one. I don't know what this exact pattern is.
It's watching you.
It's watching me.
The pixels are watching you. Pixel cat.
This is the other one that it's got like something to do with floating windows in a column and that, but I don't know.
It's just denoting the modes that you're in.
Yeah, it's just denoting the mode, but I don't know what the name of that mode is. As I said, there's so many modes in Awesome.
The dolly mode.
You don't know what all of them do. This one is kind of cool because now.
Well, that's maxed because it's all arrows to the edge.
Yeah, but the other windows stay underneath all the time.
Huh.
So there's a full screen.
Well, that's handy.
And what's funny, you're not seeing it. My GLX gears is actually running off the bottom down there. I can actually see a little bit of it still. This is the one I think is the coolest because now I've got...
You got the primary in the middle and then they're all surrounding.
Yep, so I can just switch between each one. It's hard to see that I'm switching between them. Oh, because it's not going that way. So like there's a... And I can actually expand this or decrease it.
Wow.
So if I need to, I can actually get to, like say now I need to get this up bigger so I can get it maxed up like that. Or I could go full screen temporarily and then flip it back. See, are there any other features that I wanted to show real quick? Oh, well, yeah, we should probably show the different views. So right now, we should show a couple of different things here. There is actually a window built into Awesome, or actually a menu system. So it actually has the ability to launch things. Let me actually escape out of that, move up here. Might be a little easier to see if I do that. So you actually have a menu system where you can actually add things in if you want to. So like the default Awesome menu just has the
If you
manual.
restart, do you lose your clients? Probably not.
No, you end up on
It's a silly
one.
question.
And there's my...
Okay.
That's, how you reload your configs and that. But notice now it flipped my mode back. So now I'm actually in floating window mode again. So if I start doing this, it's just going to
Is that because that's the default when it starts?
That's the default when it starts.
Okay.
That's the default in the config. If funny thing is, window tab just moves between two tasks next to each other.
With a super in the
Super tab, yeah.
super tab.
Awesome also does have up at the top here an indicator what workspace you're on.
Whew. Do you normally have that many?
Yep. I even have that many with dual screens. Actually, I used to have 10. Awesome, I think by default comes with 9.
Was it like Pluto? You demoted one?
I think Awesome just did 9 because I think for some reason they decided it's confusing that if you put a 10th one, it would actually be 0.
Yeah.
Oh.
So the keystroke to get there is weird.
Oh, it's 0. Yeah, or Super 0 because
Awesome.
Yeah, that's their default logo when you come up. That's not my default logo. My default is actually should still have it up here. Oh wow, it's not there.
Well, that's nice, the history. You can scroll back through it.
So now let's say I wanted to move this window. Now it's over on 3. Or I can go ahead and fill it and do this. Now there is an interesting side to this.
Can I ask you a question real quick?
Yeah.
Do you typically sleep your laptop to maintain all that workspace stuff, or does it save your session?
Most of the time, I don't actually sleep the laptop because I generally don't need to.
Because I never sleep mine. I just shut it off because it's going to do something. And
battery resources on this laptop are not that good.
6715.
So I just, a lot of times bring it up, bring it down, or if I have it plugged in, I'll just leave it up and running. Now, this is kind of an interesting thing. On most desktops and window managers and that, you can actually have a window be on one workspace or be on all workspaces. This gets a little bit different. You can say toggle tag view. Well, when you do that, you can put it on individual workspaces.
so you can say have it appear on 1 and 3.
Let's say, give me GLXs.
This is too much silver.
So let's say I want that on 5 and 8. So it's not on 3, it's not on 4.
Open cache.
I'm starting to swap.
Yeah, did I thought I put it on 5 and 8. I did not, okay.
Huh. Well, I believe you.
Tag client with tag. Oh, mod 4 shift. So now that put it
My
on
fries are done.
5. This is a feature I don't use very often, so it's mark tag. Oh,
Well-
okay.
Everybody only uses, 10% of their brain? So
That's
10% of a computer. But the functions are there for people who use the other percentages. Not everybody uses mail merge in Word.
yeah.
Well, actually, they probably do, but
They should.
yeah. But
Well, maybe not.
the other bloat stuff doesn't get used, so it's just you have to have features for everybody.
Yep. This is actually probably my most used view right here because it makes the most sense. You can
Well, I like the
swap
vertical
stuff
view.
around.
It works well
Yeah.
for a standard
Well,
editor.
and when you need to, you can wide things out or bring it back. So you got something you need a little bit more width, you can get it.
I go to the bathroom.
You scared the crap out
I
of
didn't
him.
have to say
I guess I
it.
did. I guess I did scare the crap out of him.
And now it's forever legacy on the web.
That's beautiful.
And public office was never in his future after that.
You ever see Workaholics? Workaholics?
Yeah, I couldn't do it. It's just too rude.
At some points it is. I would agree with that.
It's funny. I mean.
Oh, I think it's
Are you playing
hilarious.
music?
No, I'm looking at Lua. I'm trying to find the
What was actually
Engadget. I couldn't find anything on Engadget.
really? All right. So awesome. We'll flip over to xmonad real quick.
Interesting. Apple changed its software development kit so you could use Lua.
So how many years has it been since Windows 1.0 was the Tiling Window Manager? Now we're back to this again?
Was Windows 1.0 tiling window
Yes.
manager? Wow.
Yes, it
Okay.
was. It didn't do overlapping windows.
I missed that one. I didn't know that was.
So Bill Gates, once again, setting the future.
Unknowingly.
Thank you.
Until he managed to copy the Mac better.
So if you think that was kind of sparse, we're now in xmonad.
What's the mouse pointer for in this?
That's all you have. You don't have a keyboard. You just
No,
have a mouse.
So infamous D menu if you want to use that to launch something, or
You restarting it.
GM run. We're in xmonad. And I was saying, there's your default desktop for xmonad.
Sweet!
I mean, it doesn't
Just like
get-
my keyboard, nobody will want to touch my machine.
It looks like it's nothing running. I mean, you know, you can do whatever anyone wants. But I don't do that, so I'm going to put my background. So now you can see that there is actually a background.
VLC uses Lua, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
VLC.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Really?
And
MySQL
XP.
Workbench Nmap uses Lua.
Who was using it? A certain company around town I know was using quite a bit of it now.
This is weird. I don't know why it does
Apache
this.
can use it.
There it goes.
Well, that does not surprise
Cisco.
This is very
me. Cisco.
after step looking.
So
Lego Mindstorm.
how does this work with Firefox with the tab? Oh, you use the keyboard shortcuts to go through the tabs.
You can use your mouse.
Yeah.
What is
You
the
can-
keyboard shortcuts to go between tabs
Yeah.
in Firefox?
I never used it when I used the mouse, but now I do.
Yeah.
Well, you know what?
No, it makes me think.
I think you have to.
You know what the funny part is? I have actually started using now.
Because in GNOME Terminal, it's Alt 1, Alt 2, Alt 3, Alt 4.
Conqueror. Has anybody seen Conqueror?
Conquer or Recon?
Conqueror.
Classic Con. Oh.
No, Conqueror as in, this is actually a web browser.
Prior to
It's based
on
around.
Emacs.
Well, the key
Inspired by
commands are, but what it does is it uses, it's basically Zool Runner from Firefox or Mozilla for the web rendering
Okay.
engine
Yeah.
with a JavaScript wrapper that emulates Emacs keystrokes. So, you know, you do a Control U, G, and you can enter your URL. You can barely see it's down there. But if, say if you wanted to go to another link in another tab,
So
you just go ahead
number
and
one, number two.
Number one, number two, and you can actually go to, you know, say if I want to go to number two, which it probably won't. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
No, I only
And then I
want
can
number
just
one.
flip between buffers.
Sorry.
That is now on the web forever.
Well, I forgot it. When you filmed it. Oh well. I'm just tired.
Dun, dun, dun.
Welcome to the World Wide Web.
Hey, I'm in
That was
reading-
brilliant.
I'm reading
That was
public
brilliant.
arts, so it's not a bad thing to talk about that.
She was afraid to bomb a few times to make sure it gets
So,
Target words.
And bomb. And don't forget bomb.
Yeah.
so anyway, Conqueror, or not Conqueror, xmonad is really simple to use. It's only got 3 layouts by default: a horizontal, a vertical, and a float, and basically a full screen.
So between the
Basically
two,
the
you
same
can start
ideas.
with this as the light version to get.
If it
used
gets
to
you what you want from it, I mean, it's got D menu and GM run to actually allow you to launch stuff. Obviously, you can close your client, you can quit xmonad, you can restart it. Restarting is the way that you actually just reload your config file. Navigation, use mod tab or mod shift tab to go next previous window, or you can use modifier JK to go next previous. Or mod M will always take you back to your master window, which doesn't always make sense, but then modifier 1 through 9 moves you to your workspaces. And there's, you know, some keys that you can actually modify the layout. The mod T is kind of the interesting one.
Oh, okay. That was your UB key.
So basically, yeah, xmonad is much lighter, very easy to use. Personally, I don't think it's as flexible out of the box, but there's a lot of stuff in their documentation and in their wiki and that where you can add extensions and things to it. And there is actually another bar you can actually add on to it, kind of like a status bar like Awesome has. That gets back to the font management issue though, because I actually tried to start that and it would launch and then the fonts were like the wrong size, so they didn't display correctly. So
it wasn't like you had like the 75 DPI versus the 100 DPI.
It was something like that, but it was like not mapping the fonts correctly because the font actually turned out to be really huge. When it should have been like half the size that it was. I don't know why. I only got to try that on Sunday, so it's like I didn't have time to really mess around and figure out what was going on with that. I used to, and I didn't do it for here. It was one of the funny things is that XFCE has a utility in it. It's actually part of their desktop startup. That if you just launch it in the background, it'll do all your font mapping for you.
Yeah.
And it's brilliant because it actually, if you see fonts that just don't look quite right when you're running in a like standard window manager, run that thing and all of a sudden, boop, all your fonts are really beautiful. It basically does all the kerning, all the aliasing and the hinting in that. It just does all of it.
Even
and it's small, and it's even really small.
Like foreign fonts and stuff like that for different. Okay.
Yeah, it does a really, really nice job. It's fully internationalized, and it only takes like 5 meg or 10 meg of memory. So it's not that big. It's designed to run in the background, basically almost like it's an extension of X. As it doesn't need GDK or anything to actually run, I don't think. Maybe it does, but it just does a beautiful job.
Which one of these would probably use the less memory? Nomad? Is Nomad?
xmonad?
Xmonad.
Xmonad. Don't ask me where they came up with that name. I have no clue.
Xnomad was taken.
Yeah.
I am Nomad.
Yeah, I think xmonad takes less memory.
Okay.
But not by much. I mean, they're both pretty lightweight as far as the memory goes. Because also, I think it's pretty much written in pure C code. So it's written at a pretty low level. It doesn't actually have a whole lot of extra. It doesn't have a lot of extra dependencies, with the exception of the Lua stuff. But I don't know what the overhead for running Haskell is. Honestly, I never did look at that. It's
probably not ticking over.
There's xmonad. So it's using 4 meg resident, virtual 41, approximately. Which isn't bad.
It's pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
Sakura takes up much more than
Sakura? Yeah, it's using 11 meg. But that's actually a full multiple terminal.
Mm-hmm. Well, your scroll back probably would.
Yeah.
If there's history that you're retaining.
Infinite history.
Go to my preferences.
Hey, you know, Emacs is only using 40 meg resident, but it's using 215 virtual. Then you look at that.
Yeah, the browser.
It's just Zool Runner running. It's just Zool Runner itself. Using 45 meg.
There's no data, only Zool.
358 meg of memory.
That's all I know is movie quotes tonight.
So anyway, that's basically it.
Awesome.
Oh, you know what? I should show you something else real quick, just for the fun of it. But I'm gonna have to get out of here because the one thing about this is I couldn't get the.
That's a nice presentation, that Conqueror.
Yeah.
I mean, the fonts look really pretty good. I know that the projector's a little wonky, but
Well, no, it doesn't.
Yeah,
I mean,
I thought I was having a stroke there for a minute.
see, I found there's two really lightweight web browsers I found. Conqueror is one, and then Usable is the other one. Usable is kind of funny. It's UZBL. What it is it is a WebKit-based browser with a wrapper interface designed to emulate Vim.
ooh, now I'm going to try that. UZBL.
UZBL. It's kind of scary because like you go into a web page and you have like
Quit.
we have like a form on a web page or like a form to like write an email. You actually have to hit I. You know, click on this button, hit I.
Changing the fields.
So you actually type in your form. So.
That would be a great practical joke to play on somebody. Awesome. Hey, do you want to plug your podcast stuff, Ron? I'll write it down.
Yeah, we can do that. Actually, you know what I'm going to do here?
The eraser go.
I'm going to go into OpenBox really quick because I will actually pull up the web page then.
Ooh.
Because actually, I was going to show you guys something. This is the fun part for me.
Better not erase the.
No,
he doesn't need that.
Just erase parts of it.
That was sequel class.
School.
Oh, whoops.
School.
Skull.
This school.
You know, the drink.
It's skull.
So let's see if this actually remembers and connects me. Oh, well, yeah, duh. Because I forgot I had the wire plugged in. I could have done this anywhere. I was thinking I was going to have to get on the wireless stuff. So the first one, Kernel Panic Oddcast. Done that.
Is that .org?
I think it's .net, if I remember correctly. Maybe not. No, it's coming in. Yeah.
Oh, OG.
OGG. OGG.
I didn't hear the.
Yeah. There it is. We have a lot of fun with this show. Yes.
So every 2 weeks.
This one's every 2 weeks, and in between that one, we started another one now called the Zombie Circus.
Okay. Is there a proc reference there? PID?
It's supposed to be this other radio show that's back from the dead.
I see. Oh.
So that's why it's called the Zombie Circus. Because the other show was always seen as kind of a circus, and now it's a zombie circus. It's like the
This
undead
wasn't.
show.
It's not like radio, is it?
Hmm?
You're not referencing Love Radio, are you? That podcast that was dead, that's back.
It, kind of in a respect. I think that's kind of part of it. I always love our description for this show.
Stay away from hurricanes for a while, Statler says.
Statler, go away. That's one of the things I wish.
What's that called? Statler says?
Something like that. It's part of Crunch Bang.
Okay.
He's got basically does like little zippy sayings, but he puts them in the Statler. So, Kernel Panic, an action taken by an operating system after detecting an internal fail error from which you cannot safely recover. Kernel Panic Oddcast, an oddcast that, after introduction, spirals to a failed digression from which it cannot safely recover.
Oh yeah, that sounds about right.
That's our show. That pretty much fits it pretty well.
Now you're geographically dispersed, all the people that are doing
Very
this.
much so. 330 is in Indiana. Not
Is that-
Klaatu is on the East Coast.
Is
Azimuth is
he on Gnome
down
Planet?
south. 330, he would be.
Okay, 'cause I've seen
He's
his
actually
stuff.
Fedora ambassador.
That's what I was gonna say. I thought
Yeah.
I saw him on there.
Yep, he's a Fedora
So he's
ambassador.
on Fedora Planet. All right.
Yeah, his name is Justin O'Brien.
Yep. Okay.
Not Klaatu is on the East Coast. Azimuth is in the South someplace. I don't remember exactly where. I don't know where Jay Lindsay is. Dan is in South Carolina. Peter 64 is in Australia.
Oh, that's fun for time.
I'm obviously here. That's me, Sound Chaser. Crayon is also in Australia. I don't know exactly where Chad is.
Oh. So the Australia guys are, let's see.
That's why we record at like 9 o'clock
If you're at
Saturday
9 o'clock
night.
at night, they're
That's
in the
it.
morning.
Like they're
It's
after
almost 12
some.
hours exactly.
Oh no, it's like
isn't it?
15 or
Japan's-
16, something like that.
Really?
Japan's about 14.
It depends on which part of
Jakarta's
Australia.
exactly 12 hours.
Depends on which part of Australia. There's actually like 2 or 3 time zones in Australia.
Sydney or,
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So that's one.
Well, there's only like 4 cities in Australia. Perth, Adelaide, Sydney. Okay, 3.
We did a,
What do you know? Our pilot episode's out. Woohoo!
We just lost it when we were Australian listener, probably. There you go. It's kind of like
We
my
did.
old Canadian bit where I started using maple syrup swilling beaver. Sex handling.
back in the early 2000s, we did, we were at the Clarkson lab. And there was a Astros presentation where the people who participated in the presentation, one was in Denver and one was in Australia.
I remember
They
that.
linked their systems together. Yeah.
This was one oh I forgot to send them the links. I'm surprised to put it up here. This was one of the stories that I actually had for.
U.S.
That-
bars friend. Oh yeah, that was the. We're gonna destroy it.
Yeah, we're gonna destroy America. Is one of their jokes, meaning they're gonna have a big party.
Oh, by the way.
You are blocked. The sun.co.uk is blocked.
Yes, because lingerie, bikini, and nudity. Sorry.
Oh, Lord.
So the sun is blocked for that. That's
Can't
nice.
have people looking at nudity in the bar.
Or Dilbers.
Well,
Well, there's
Dilbert,
ways
yeah.
around it. I'm not telling you not
VPN, baby.
to. No, yes, that's correct. Proxy.
Oh, one of the other things we had to talk about in
Or
that show.
SSH tunnel.
Or
That's one of the other things we had to talk about in that show. Rebecca Black Linux. Girl that sings that Friday song.
Yeah.
They've done like a fan version of
Oh,
Linux.
like
for
the
her.
Barbie Linux?
Or the Hannah Montana Linux. We used
Yeah.
to taunt.
What?
lesbian
Lesbians
Linux.
and
Lesbian-
Did you ever see that? There's a April Fool's prank.
Well, there was the one that was what, the
There's no
the
keyboard to solve that.
satanic Linux.
Hey,
Okay.
careful. We
Yeah,
haven't shut
Aaron.
down the recording yet.
What's that? Put your pants back on, Ray.
All right, thanks, George, for doing your presentation tonight. Yay!
So which distros
Head
come
up.
with xmonad and stuff so I can easily install it when I start screwing around with it?
Best one I know is Debian, because you can just grab them right out of the repos. Just drop them in.
Because I know some people were whining about Awesome having various versions of the libraries and stuff like that that are older and stuff like that.
Yeah, because
Like Fedora, one of those won't package it because of that crap.
Fedora doesn't package anything. So.
But they do have a new maintainer, a new project leader though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, it
actually,
is
I can't
different
remember.
every
It's
time.
like it's a lady.
Okay.
Big change.
It's like a one-time pad.
Is it like Beth?
Craig.
What?
It's like a one-time pad.
Don't remember what it was.
Okay.
What her name was.
Okay, color me stupid.
Um,
Why?
What?
What's the?
so I did have one other thing to show you guys real quick.
Let's
Let's.
factor, or whatever you want to do.
So you got to put your username and password in, and then you hit that button. How does that work with the other end?
Well, you have to
got-
set it up so Pam talks to either a local server. I knew you were going to love that.
Pam is gonna make.
Thank you for joining us.
Pam!